All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our session this evening, which is a story, Boris' story, so to say, my application manager journey with WirfonCloud. So, before we go ahead and start, I also like everyone to maybe just quickly let me know what's their background, because that's something uh, maybe we're going to start with Boris talking about what he was doing, but maybe you also want to just share your background briefly. Let's try to see the similarities. So tonight we have this story to talk about, and we're going to be looking at Boris' authentic story. We're going to be discussing breakthroughs and maybe some practical steps that could be beneficial to everyone joining. But before we get into that, while all of you are sharing your background, so Boris, let's also start with where were you before WirfonCloud? But maybe before starting there, you will want to just introduce yourself and then you talk about where you were before WirfonCloud. So over to you, Boris.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Prof. Ban. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for uh, being there to listen to my story. So I'm always happy to share my experience with people because I remember when I started my journey at WirfonCloud, I always used to attend such section where other people shared their story, and it was like really interesting. And for me, it was like a source of motivation also. So that's why I thought like, okay, if maybe I can help someone else uh, to go through this journey, it would be definitely be a good plus for me and also for the person. So that being said, my name is Boris, so originally from Cameroon. And in Cameroon, I studied biology. So I did a master's in biology in Cameroon, and then I moved to Germany in 2014. And in Germany, I studied industrial engineering. So industrial engineering, it was like a combination of business and also mechanical engineering. So nothing to do with IT. Yeah. Afterward, I worked for 5 years as a sales specialist before I started the career change with Cloud. So that's a little bit about me and also about
Right.
my background. Yeah.
Industrial engineering, sales, and then career change to WirfonCloud. But how did you discover WirfonCloud? How did you came to know about WirfonCloud?
Yeah, that's a good question because a friend of mine also, like a friend with whom I studied industrial engineering together, he was also working in sales. So one day we were discussing and he said he wanted to change a career path, like to go into IT. I also told him that that's also something that I was thinking of doing as well. So, but I didn't know like which path I would choose in the IT because IT is like extremely large with a lot of domains. So for someone who is not from the field, it's a little bit difficult to have an overview of what to do or where to start. So that my
Mhm.
friend, the friend of mine, so he told me that he's doing a cloud course at WirfonCloud, and that if I'm interested, then I can join. So I joined. That's how I came to know about WirfonCloud. So when I joined, I think it was in April, you guys have started already with the solution architecting course. It was the second week, so I joined during the second week that time. So that was then in April, I think around April 2023, where I
Mhm.
then started with the AWS solution architecting course. So that was my first course with the IT, in the IT
Mhm.
field actually. Yeah.
Right. It's always so amazing hearing WirfonCloud has really grown based on recommendation. And it's always nice knowing that, okay, it's always a friend that recommends WirfonCloud and then someone comes in I think for those listening, keep doing those recommendations. Let's keep building the community. But when you heard about it, were you not skeptical? Just joining a community with for cloud. It's not like, a big training company out there, but just, were you not
Yeah, of course.
skeptical?
Of course, I was a little bit skeptical because, like in Germany, German people they like reference. So if you have like a certification, it should come like from a reference known
Yeah,
training center. So
yeah,
that made me a little bit skeptical. But then when you told me about the price was also like a motivation, a real motivation for me because it was quite cheap. I was like, "Are you sure?" Because this training, when I look at at the price that is being offered by like other like German training center,
yeah,
it's not less than 6,000 euros, some 12 or 10,000 euros just to prepare for the AWS solution architect
yeah,
exam. And WirfonCloud, I think I paid like 180 euros. I was like, okay, it's cheap and I have nothing to lose. I will just give it a try, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So, and also like the time during which the course was taking place was also an advantage, especially because I was also working full time, right, as sales specialist.
Right.
So I
Mm-hmm.
usually started my job at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and the courses were taking place between 5 and 7 in the morning. So for me, it was like really perfect. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I will just give it a try and then see. I didn't know anything about cloud. I was like, okay, let me just check it and then see how it goes.
Right. Okay.
Uh,
No, that's good because we try to really make Reform Cloud affordable. We know price wise it's definitely challenging for many people. And then the other thing was we also thought about the timing. 5:30 to 7, of course, it will be difficult to find other people offering a course that early in the morning. And
yeah.
understanding that many people are also working full time. That happens to be the best time. Although it's also difficult because some people start work also at 7 for some.
Mhm.
It's still challenging, but nice to know that the price, because at that time it was still even cheaper than what we are offering now. But
Exactly.
yeah, and good to know
Mhm.
that that was convincing. But even still now, it's still affordable
Yeah, it's
compared
still
to others.
affordable compared to others training center where they charge like
Mhm.
10,000 euros or 6,000 euros. So
Right.
definitely.
Yeah.
And the
Right.
support you get from Wivon Cloud is definitely more than what you pay for, I would say.
Yeah.
So,
Right. No, good to know about that. I can see also from the background here, I see 33% say also they are career changer from different fields. So 33% are in the technical field, and interestingly, yeah, 17% non-technical, 1%. Did 17% business management. It's again, it shows how much we have people always coming from a different background and looking into how to get into tech. So let's move on and try to talk a little bit about studies at from cloud and see how you are able to manage this, especially as we have just seen that many people want to understand from you how effective to study while working full time. But so let's get into your learning journey and maybe you should just like point out how was your first week at Reform Cloud? When you got into studies, you were already 1, 2 weeks behind, but maybe you can just talk about your first week or why not your first month and if you did like it, just to have from you.
yeah, sure. Just like I mentioned before, I joined the architecting course like 1 or 2 weeks already later. So for me, it was like rocket science, I would say.
Yeah.
Because when I joined, the courses on EC2 instance were going, and then it was a lot of theory. I was like, what's actually the goal of doing all of this? So at a certain point, I felt a little bit discouraged. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, am I going to go through this? It was like really challenging. And I was like, okay, so let me just give it a try and then see how it goes. So I used to wake up like every morning, like at 5:30, right, to do the lesson. And then since I was a little bit behind after work, I tried to dedicate like 1 hour to try to catch up a little bit with the lesson that were already done before. Then yeah, so little by little, I started getting into the flow. And when we started the lab, where we during the lab we always had the possibility, right, to put in practice what we learned in the theory. So that's how you start to understand the concept a little bit, and then to see like which way we are going. Makes it more interesting, right? Creating like a server, deploying like website. I mean, like what for me, like the real kick was when we did the lab where we deployed like a study website where you see how the website is working and everything. So that was like where I started thinking like, okay, so this thing is probably going to take me to lead me somewhere, you know. So it gave me like much more strength. So I started investing more time again. Yeah, it was definitely interesting journey, which I don't
Mhm.
regret. Yeah. So
Wow, great. I mean, I hear from you the clip was when you started doing the lab, which says how much hands-on. So the hands-on there is very important. If it was just theory, maybe it would have been much more difficult. You say so, right?
yeah, because in
Yeah.
theory you have like so many informations. At the beginning you have this. Imagine you coming from a non-tech background and then you're there, start to talk about networking, VPC, and all the stuff which you've never heard about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I joined the course, I had like no knowledge or about Linux. So when we were doing the labs, I remember when we did once in a lab on EC2 instance where they were using like this Linux command. I was completely lost. So
Yeah,
even discouraged, I'm like, okay, so where do I start? You know?
right.
Yeah. So
No, but yeah. No, it's quite amazing that you did hell on and did see more of the use despite all of that. But when we're having these conversations, it always helps us to also realize. And if you are in the course, if you are having any struggles, make sure that you let us know and don't just disappear. But from what you are saying, how will you say? The community WirfonCloud did help? And do you have some other specific examples? I know you have mentioned the lab, but about the community, how will you say it was helpful to you? Because we had the classes and then there's, of course, the bigger WirfonCloud community.
yeah, the community was definitely helpful because we had this Telegram group where if you had like any question or any difficulties, right, you could just ask in the Telegram group and someone will always reply. So
Mm-hmm.
regardless of maybe let's say if you're trying to do a lab by yourself, maybe at 10 in the night, and you just if you have like some difficulties, you post there, like at least one person will always reply, right? So this kind of motivates you. You don't have to wait like until tomorrow or until the next lab to get the
Yeah.
answer. And we also had this Saturdays. We also had like Saturday sections as well, where the community came together and then we discuss, we motivate each other. So that was like the highlight for me at WirfonCloud. You know, that's something you probably will not find in other communities where people
Mm-hmm.
motivate each other and people are always ready to help. Like those who have like
Mm-hmm.
more experience, they are always ready to answer to your question, right? So it's definitely something that I really appreciate because when I
Yeah.
started the solution architecting exam, there the preparation, I didn't have like the possibility to do the Linux course and also the network foundation just the way it's been done now. Now it's like more structured. It's very structured now, where
Yeah.
people start with Python and then they move to Linux, and from Linux, network foundation and essential before going to architecting. So you see like the difficulties is like keep growing gradually, I would say. But then I just
Mm-hmm.
started in those days, I started directly with the architecting course, so it was like really, really difficult for me to keep up
Mm-hmm.
with with the pace and also with all the new stuff that I had to learn. But just like I said, it's a journey, so you just have to be consistent and also study, try to learn something new every day, right?
Right. Absolutely. No, that's good. Apart from the classes that we offered, the architecting course with on cloud material, were there any? So we had for the classes, we normally had our material, and then for the revision, we used Tutorial Dojo, which we have always used for revision. But in terms of studying again effectively, did you use some other resources or resources that you could recommend for those thinking about alternatives?
I mean, for the solution architect exam, the material that I used our courses, right, at WirfonCloud, and we also had like this course from Stefan Marek from Udemy, which I also use. And for the exam preparation, Tutorial Dojo definitely is the best website which you can use for the exam preparation. So I always
Mhm,
make sure that did all the exam like based on specific topic, and then the whole thing again like 3 times before going for the certification. So, and like after doing like a section, you take the time to see what's went wrong and then to also check the solutions. That gives you a better understanding of each topic. So those are the
mhm,
materials that I mostly use for the solution architect exam. I think
mhm.
there should be enough for preparation.
Right.
Yeah, those three sources like Udemy, Tutorial Dojo, and also the cost of Stefan, and also the cost that we from Cloud offers. So
Right.
yeah,
Oh, great. Now, good to know that you've mentioned how you've gotten it was so complex, but still again on being what were you at a point where you almost feel like you are going to quit and or because that's something that happens to most people. They get started and then the next thing is they feel like it's not for them. You know, they don't have that courage to stay because the moment you are feeling like you should quit, that's when maybe you are going to start understanding. But was there a point you really felt like you should quit?
yeah, definitely. Especially when because my friend, the friend I told you about, who was also doing the architecting course, right? So he quit. So
Yeah,
I was discussing with him. But the issue we had is that we're doing these things, but we didn't know where it will take us to, right? So
right.
we're just hearing about EC2 instant VPC and everything. We couldn't like really see like what's the end goal of having to learn all this stuff. And
Right.
for me, like it was mostly because like there were like so much information, right? So you had a lot of things
Yeah.
to learn. And
Mhm.
the moment you think, okay, you already know this one, then you get to know that okay, there are new other topic coming, right? You have to learn like Linux, you have to learn like Terraform, Docker, and everything.
Yes.
So it's like when you look at it, you like you think like it's so much that you 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 feel like it's impossible to learn all this stuff right before you start searching for jobs. So at a certain point, this kind of discouraged me a little bit. But then um, I always ask I mean, each time I felt discouraged, I always ask myself like, what was their motivation and what's the purpose of me wanting to change career, right? Because I was in sales, and for me, I was looking for a new career field where I have like more flexibility, of course, like the possibility to work like 100% remotely, and also to have like a possibility also for career advancement, right? And to earn also a lot of money, I would say, because at the end, that also very important, to do
Yeah.
something that at the end gives you some cash flow. So
Mhm.
I think IT, those were the reason why I decided to switch to IT. I'm like, if I quit now, then I'll probably stay in my boring job, which I don't really like. So
Yeah.
I always had like this goal in front of me. So this kept on like pushing me to overcome the difficulties like one by one, right? So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So if someone is listening this evening and they have also that feeling like, you know what, I want to quit. This thing is because, like you have said, when someone is starting from the beginning, you see all these things you have to learn. What will you say to that person? You know, if someone is listening this and I've been having that feeling of maybe I want to quit, and you've gone through this phase. You started in April 2023. By the time we were coming end of 2024, right? Then you had your job to start in February, so almost 1.5 years. So you were able to this list of things that you saw in the beginning, and you were just so worried if you get to. What will you tell someone in the same shoes now who is feeling like they may quit, or who is having seen just so many things and not knowing how they will absorb them?
I mean, like, what I can say is that you should like you shouldn't put that much pressure on yourself. Like you shouldn't try to learn everything like within a short period, right? So you should be uh consistent in learning. So you should learn you should like have a better learn plan, right? So if you say maybe this month I want to learn Docker, then you can say okay, maybe I will dedicate like 1 hour per day on learning Docker. And once you're done, and before you realize at the end of the month the amount of knowledge you gather about Docker, then you will think like, okay, actually it wasn't that difficult as I thought, right? So and then did you also set the next month you set the goal like, okay, this month is going to be for Terraform. I'm going to learn like just 1 hour, 1 hour per day. You don't have uh, to sit down 5 hours and try to know everything or try to learn everything at the same time because at the end you feel discouraged and then you feel like you don't know anything at the end, once you're done. So you should like take like everything step by step, right? You should take like step by step and have like a, a program with a goal which you have to set in advance, right? Just like I said, if you at the beginning you can say maybe I want to have this knowledge, I want to learn this tool, this tool, this tool, and then you try to structure the goal maybe in the period of 6 months or 1 year, and you do the course like step by step and also little by little, because the most important is to be consistent. If it's even if it's just like learning 30 minutes per day, but it should be like really 30 minutes where you focus on learning something new, right? At the end of the month, if you multiply 30 minutes maybe by times 30 days, you will be surprised by the huge amount of knowledge that you would have gathered already. I think that's also something I got from you, Professor Ban, because you used to post like some motivational statement there where where you always
Yeah,
mention that consistent learning is the key to success, right? So
yeah,
there's no need in trying to learn all the tools, all the technology in 1 month because that will just like make you go through frustration. So
yeah,
that's the advice I
yeah.
can give to you guys. And that's also what I did. Oh, so
That's good. I mean, there's nothing good than listening to someone who have made it like you. There's a poll on your biggest study challenge for those who are watching. Please, just maybe 5 of you have completed. I'll talk about that shortly. But luckily, you were mentioning Terraform, and I think during our before cloud consulting days, I was mentioning we'll have Terraform, but we are having Terraform classes going on now. Yvonne is leading that session, and it's just the step as we keep improving. Like now, the learning plan, we have the fundamental courses, Python, networking, Linux. Then now we have gone back to the architecting course. We have ended up breaking it into two. So we are doing the architecting course, but after the first 4 or 5 weeks, they are
mm,
writing the practitioner certification too, because when people pass exams, they are much more motivated.
difficult.
Uh, Not so after that, we do the solutions architect. Once they do that, and of course, still always accompanied by labs. So we have labs every Tuesday evenings as usual. And then after that, they get into doing projects and then doing the Terraform course. So the Terraform course, most of them are planning to do the certification by mid-December, end of December latest, because the syllabus change in
Mhm.
January. Yeah. So yeah, so that has been happening. I see some people are saying here their biggest challenge is um, I see 40% say imposter syndrome, self-doubt. Another challenge here is training and certification cost, which is really true. especially something that I still find to be very unfair. You know, people in Africa still pay the same price for certification like people in Europe. And
Yeah.
prices for certifications are set based on the standard of living in the Western world. It's something I've always thought about. Like, it's a very unfair, it's a very not so fair, but we don't know what we can do about that. We are all finding that. So I agree, certification cost is really high for many people who have the potential to do. The other thing I see here is finding time to study consistently. And I think especially those working full time, being able to have time, it's really something not easy. Um, I know, I don't know if you have something to say about your own biggest challenges, Boris, when you were studying, especially you were working full time, you are getting in the morning to do classes.
Yeah, I think that's actually one of my that was also one of my biggest challenges, right? Like working full time and also getting to find like some window to study. So that's definitely a challenge for people who work full time, which I was can also understand. Because I was
Hmm.
also working every day from 8:30 sometime to 6 p.m. from Monday to Friday, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. But then I think what you have to say to yourself is that like the effort you put in now, right? It's something that's not going to, I mean, it's a temporary effort. Maybe you will do it for 1.5 years, right? And afterward, you find a job in the domain, and then you don't have to do it anymore. You don't have to do it again. So, like if you're working full time in an area which is a non-tech area, what I used to do is that like 2 hours every morning, of course, we had classes. But then I made sure that every day, right after work, maybe in the evening before going to bed, around 8 o'clock, I will study maybe for minimum 30 minutes. So it could be depending on how your day was. If maybe it was a very stressful day for you, you can decide to study maybe just 30 minutes. But for me, it was always 30 minutes to 1 hour every day. So if you calculate like 1 hour every day, at the end of the month, you have studied like 30 hours. So and you know like how much of knowledge you can gather in 30 hours within 1 month. That's a lot. So if you multiply
Hmm.
it like them 1 year, and that's pretty lot. And also on weekend also I used to make sure that I dedicated 4 hours for studies. So on
Hmm.
Saturday I will also start in the morning, maybe around 8 o'clock until 10, and on Sunday maybe also in the evening or in the morning, depending on your schedule. Because on the weekend you have you mostly have time, right?
Hmm.
So
Right.
for me, I was like, I mean, my main source of motivation was that this is just a temporary situation, right? I have to go through it if I want to achieve this goal, and it's not going to
Right.
be something permanent. So I did that
Hmm.
for 1.5 years, and now, like, since I found my job, I don't wake up early that much, that much to study again,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
I don't have to do it. I studied or I learned new stuff at my job already. It's already part of my job, so. It
Right.
was just like 1 year, 1.5 years sacrifice, which you have to do. It's something you definitely have to go through during this time, which you are like acquiring like new knowledge, and trying to switch. But once you're already into the field, then you will notice that you have then more time and less pressure to study new
Hmm.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing listening to you. And what I like that stands out is the fact that you were always finding time within the day. You are not even talking about 2, 3 hours, but just doing could be 30 minutes, 1 hour.
yeah,
And then in the weekend, when you have more time, you do so. And I think it's something that everyone should pick that the small, small jobs, right? When, as you say, when you multiply that in a month and you think of a year, you realize that you've covered a lot of space.
a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
Right. So I'm looking at the pool that we have. Honestly, how many hours per week do you study? That's our current pool. I see 5 people have answered already. Hopefully, more people coming, and we'll talk about how many hours. So tell us how many hours you are studying. How many hours are you putting per week to study? So let's see how that is distributed. So I'll give 10 more seconds for that. But consistency, it's really what stands out. It's not trying to sit down for 5 hours, as Boris did mention. If once you want to learn, it could be different topics all at once. Um, People are different. Some people may be able to do so, but how effective that is a challenge. But the key thing is the small bits that you do. You don't want to be overwhelmed. The majority of people, if you want to just learn so much at a time, it becomes overwhelming. There's frustration. You feel like this is getting so difficult. But if you decide to do a certain portion at a time, right? It really, really do help. I see, Brother Ken, if you're saying the poll is on the chat, I hope everyone, I see many people are seeing the poll. It's on the Zoom, right? So if I'm looking at what is coming in, I see that per week, I see 57% of you say that you study 6 to 10 hours per week, right? And then some of you say 3 to 5 hours weekend mostly. Some of you say 16 hours all mode, right? So you are really definitely then studying much, not studying much, but you are definitely into full gear. Then 0 to 2 hours, you are struggling to start. And please don't be discouraged, even if you are doing 2 hours per week. Okay, that may sounds like it's really low, because if you are doing 30 minutes a day, we'll be talking about you making at least 4 to 5 hours maybe per week. What I can only encourage is you should just look at the pockets of times that you have and don't underestimate them. I don't know. Boris, again, maybe if you want to emphasize on that, bearing in mind that many people are looking for effective study strategies. If you had like 30 minutes and that was all you had, how were you going to use that? Do you have some things you did, even if the time was small? How did you use to appreciate that in your study?
Yeah, it depends, right? So if you decide to study for 30 minutes per day, then you should make sure that you really use those 30 minutes efficiently. And by efficiently, I mean like if you say, okay, maybe I wake up, let's say, or maybe in the evening I study like from 8 to 8:30. You have to make sure that before going to bed today, I mean, if you want to do something, if you want to study tomorrow from 8:30 to 9 or from 9 to 10, you have to make sure that like maybe one day before you know exactly what you want to do tomorrow, right? So you shouldn't like wait until tomorrow and then you start to think like, okay, what am I going to study today? Because you waste a lot of time in thinking, you know. But if you already have like a structured program, if you are doing, for instance, let's say a course on Docker, because what I did is that I purchased a course on Docker on Udemy. So I used to use the Udemy course as my study reference, right? So there were like different topics there. And for me, I would always say like, okay, maybe today I will study like storage in Docker. Tomorrow I will study like networking, and maybe on the weekend. I made sure that I kept the difficult topics on the weekend because I have more time and fresh brain to really assimilate everything. But the short topics, I did it like used to do it like during the week, right? Because if you've worked the whole day, you are tired. You don't want to we don't want to take on a difficult topic which will all just waste your time or discourage you at the end of the day. So you should like schedule your study program in such a way that like topics that are difficult or that requires more attention, you probably do it in weekends, and during the week you do like simple topics or short topics, right? So, but this one
Mhm.
you have to structure this in advance already. Just like I said, if you want to acquire knowledge on Docker this month, you should like create your study plan. Like, okay, this today I will study this, tomorrow that, the weekend I will study this one. You should already have it because if you have it, then it's like easier for you to it gets to stay motivated, right? Because you already know what you have to learn and what you have to do. So you just follow the
Yeah.
flow and it's easier, I would say.
Right. No, that's great. So again, for those who are struggling to study, creating a schedule, creating a plan is very important. And maybe on a Sunday, you can just sit down and look at what is going to be my plan for this week. What should I study on Monday? What should I study on Tuesday? If you have the material, you look at it, you just already break. So have a timetable, a study timetable. It reminds me of when I was in secondary school and we used to have this study timetable of study mathematics, study functions on this day and things like
Yeah.
that. So breaking it to bits, from hearing what Boris is saying, break the material into bits in such a way that once the 30 minutes come in where you want to study, you already know already what you want to study. You don't just start thinking like, okay, you start opening and then you are looking at Docker, you are seeing image, you are seeing writing a Docker file, all these things. You start wondering where do you start, and then you waste time. So again, on effective study strategy, having a study plan, maybe for the week, and then of course having pockets of time to fill in all those things are very important. And if you have questions on effective study plan that you want to put on chat, please put them. I'll read them those questions to Boris and we'll answer them. But yeah, we've talked, discussed quite a lot around studies, but what are studies without certifications? Because that's what starts making you like, all right, I'm coming from a non-tech brand, have certifications. So do you want to tell us maybe which certifications that you had in WirfonCloud during your time? Yeah.
Yeah, I started in April 2023 with the solution architect course, and I took the exam in September. So it took like
Mm,
almost 6 months because
right.
solution architect was a difficult exam, I would say. For me, it was the
Yeah.
beginning, a lot of information, so I needed to take the time to really make sure that I master everything before I go for the exam. So, and the
Mhm.
advantage, like if you dedicate so much time in your first exam, the advantage you have is that it will help you also in the other certification, right? The other certification will be easier. So in September 2023, I've completed the solution architect exam. And afterward, in January 2024, I did the SysOps administrator, the AWS certified SysOps administrator also. That was in
Mhm.
January, so like almost 3 months later. Uh, and
Mhm.
this one, we had like a study group at WirfonCloud where which was also a very effective way of studying. So we had a group of I think like 10 students where and we bought this course also from Udemy and each student had a topic, right? So we met like twice per week and each student had to present on a particular topic. So it took like 3 months to prepare this exam, the SysOps, because like most of the stuff that came in the SysOps I already learned it in the solution architect. So since I knew it, it was like really easy. That's why I think like the solution architect exam is like really important. You really have to invest time and to make sure that you master the concept very well because once you do it, then it's like really easy to clear up the other exams. So in January 2024, I did the SysOps exam, and then in April, I did the AWS Certified Security Specialty. This exam I studied alone, so I just bought a course on Udemy from Stefan Marek, and then I studied. It was also pretty easy because of AWS. So most of the time, like 80% will be like from the solution architect, and 20% is like real security. But it took me like 1 month to prepare this exam, so I completed it in April 2024. And then at the end of 2024, so that was November, I did the certified Kubernetes administrator certification. So this one also we studied in group. It took us like 3 months to prepare this one. So I wrote the exam in November 2024. So in total, I did this 4 certifications.
Great.
So yeah, so those are the certification I did. So and I also like did like other courses as well, right? To try to get like knowledge in other tools, like all the DevOps tools that have been used, right? So I did like the
Mhm.
Python courses, Linux, and also networking courses from WirfonCloud. But this one I did like after I had completed the solution architect, I was
Right.
like, that's even where I also like understood certain stuff that we were using the solution architect after doing the basic
Yes.
course on networking, Linux, and Python. So I it would have been better for me if I had started there, then the solution architect would have been easier, right? So while
Yeah,
doing this course, I noticed that okay, well, this was actually where I was supposed to start. So, but
yeah.
yeah, but these are definitely really important courses, like this Python, Linux, and networking fundamental, because these are like the basics of the cloud, right? So once you know
Mm-hmm.
it, then it's kind of easier to understand how it works in the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
No, that's good to know. Yeah, go ahead.
exactly. So I also did like some Udemy courses also, like Terraform. I did the courses on Docker. There was
Yeah.
DevOps bootcamp also on Udemy that I did, which is offered by Corey Cloud. And this DevOps
Mm-hmm.
bootcamp was like really interesting because there you get to learn like all these DevOps tools that I use right in the cloud. You get to know like how to use, for instance, Jenkins or GitHub Actions. You learn like
Right.
also YAML and also the
Mm-hmm.
CI/CD pipeline. So you understand how all these tools kind of are used and how and when to use them. So yeah, so it was like really interesting. A lot of time definitely that I invested into personal studies, but at the end it was worth it, I would say.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good to know. Regarding the fundamental courses you did, but you said something, especially with the solutions architect, that once you've done it well and you have invested the time, because I know there are some people here, I've been mentioning during the ones-on-ones that once they have that, actually, when they'll get to do the sys-up, they'll realize that it's not very difficult because they already have a strong foundation in the solutions architect, as you said, just as when they will, I recommend a security exam as well, because anyone we are preparing people to either to be cloud engineer or DevOps, and security remains a very important area, irrespective of which role you are doing in cloud. And it's the same thing I point out, like um, immediately you have had a strong foundation, you realize that it's going to be the same things repeated, but maybe in depth, right? And or that focuses on that area. So that's really one thing. But I want you to also emphasize, especially the importance of the fundamental courses. I don't know how you rate. Mike is here. You did the networking course, and if you are talking about Kubernetes, you can't talk Kubernetes without networking. Everything comes there. So, how did you, when you look back, how did you find the course, like the networking course, or that we did at WirfonCloud, or that you had in like an
I think
Apple
before I
here?
would say that before networking for me was like how would I say it? It was like a rocket science, you know. Even when after I completed the solution architect exam, I didn't like really understand how the subnet, the routing, and everything works because I was feel like I was missing these fundamentals. So because of that, I didn't really feel confident. Even after completing the solution architect exam, I didn't really feel like okay, I know enough to start applying for job, you know. So, but after I did this networking fundamentals, that's where I would say I kind of fell in love with networking because he really explained like all how the subnet are structured, how they are defined, the CIDR block
Mhm.
and everything. It was like really good, I would say. It was one of the courses that I enjoyed the most, I would say. So after that, I even started also like doing like some personal research also on networking to understand stuff. So it made the course like really simple for everyone, right? Um, that's something I really loved and I really enjoyed that course. And the courses on Linux also, which you did, was also a life savior, I would say, because like
Okay.
working in the cloud is Linux is like one of the things that you have to know. So it's a must if
Mhm.
you want to work in the cloud, right? At
Yeah.
least the fundamentals. You don't have to know advanced Linux. You have to know at least the basics, the fundamentals, and the rest you can always like use ChatGPT or ask Microsoft Copilot if there's a command that you miss. But the foundation, the fundamentals of Linux, definitely the course you taught us was also I would say it covered everything that you need to work in the cloud. Yeah.
Right. No, good to hear that. I mean, you are testimony to the fact that we are trying to always demystify the cloud for non, even if someone is coming without a non-tech background, you have the opportunity to realize that it's not as complex as it is because and one thing I always tell people that the cloud, I came from the tech background, but the cloud was new. There were things that you'll be surprised when I did also the solutions architect and did really understand subnetting and, and how it works very well after I'd done the exam. And which goes to say it's possible to pass the exam at times, but maybe some particular things one have not yet mastered them. And I still learn every day in those different areas. I still have an aha moment. There are some things that just work. I know they work, but there are some finer details that at times you realize that, okay, actually that's how it is. Or, I mean, so some of those details you may not need to have them, right? When working, as long as you can get it working. But when you have that aha moment where you get to know the finer detail is good. So as you have all heard, fundamentals are very important. Please don't underestimate having fundamentals of Linux. 90% of instances in the cloud are Linux. Networking is important. Now, Python, which is programming, it's important, but doesn't really, it is, you need it, but especially if you are thinking of AI and machine learning, almost everything touches Python. So, and it's a very, maybe we'll come to talk about that as we move along, but it's also a very important space or knowledge to have now. But fundamentals of Python is not difficult to get, especially with the fundamentals of Python course that we also have here from Cloud. I see that most of you, you are current learning stage. Some of you have completed training, looking now for a job. Some of you are working in the tech background, just here to learn and get inspired. We are moving soon to job hunting. And again, we are here with Boris talking about his journey to the cloud. So I don't know if you have heard something so far. Do you want a question? Do you want to say something? Please feel free to come up. We'll have more questions at the end, but feel free to come up before we go to job hunt. I know you are looking for effective study strategies. So based on what we have covered, if we have not yet answered your question, do you have a question for Boris on this area before we move on? You can put your question on chat or you come in and say so. All right. I think those questions will be coming. Since there's none coming, let's go ahead. The next point that was really of interest, Boris, people are looking forward to see how do you really get in a job in the cloud, right? So job hunt is always something that it's a struggle for many, and some people just have a fear, right? If this is something, some people tend to maybe just have a fear in general, whether they will get into it. So there's a pool I have for maybe some people have their biggest fear. So you'll be putting that, you'll be completing that pool, but we'll be hearing from Boris regarding his biggest fear. When did you start applying, or how many applications, and how many applications did you actually get to do, So when was it you felt like, all right, because when you did give your part, you wrote the CK in November. I think you had your job almost January, February. I know you were to start in February, but you had spent just almost 1 year, 3 months at WirfonCloud, or 1 year, 4 months. And as you say, many people have to go on these big training institutions. They pay so much amount of money, and yeah, but at WirfonCloud, when did you start on your job hunt? When did you start applying, or what made you feel like you were ready? Yeah.
That's a good question. I mean, like, even though after completing like my third AWS certification in April 2024, so I still didn't feel comfortable, right? I still didn't feel like I was ready to go for the job market. And I also kind of stayed in my comfort zone because I was like afraid of losing my source of income without like, like the fear of uncertainty was still there, right? Like not knowing
Mm-hmm.
enough. Because each time you go check, for instance, job applications, they will ask, I mean, the requirements are usually a lot. So they ask a lot of tools, and then you check like, okay, I don't know this tool, I have to learn this one. This one I'm missing, I have to learn. So this one I'm missing, I have to learn. So for me, it was like a kind of excuse not to apply. So, but
Mm-hmm.
then like another thing I did, which was also like really, really a booster for me, was to work on personal like real life projects. So like there's this guy, I don't know where he's from, probably from Nigeria. He has a website where he uh, offers like a lot of real life project, right? So I subscribed to that website, I think for like 1 month, and during that 1 month, I did like 8 project, like starting from scratch. For instance, like how to deploy statics or dynamic website on ECS using different DevOps tools, CI/CD pipeline projects, or EKS stuff like that, where he explained like from the beginning until the end. And then you also do it yourself, like you create your instance or you create your resource in AWS using Terraform or infrastructure of code. There are a lot of projects there. So I used this 1 month, and during that 1 month, I did like 8 projects. And each project I did, I documented it, and I also posted it on Medium. I don't know if you guys know Medium. Medium is like this, what's a Tesh website where you can share your projects or you can publish stuff that you write, right? Uh,
Articles, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I did like
Mm-hmm.
this project, I did it, I documented it, and I also shared it on Medium, and I also posted it on my LinkedIn account, professional account, and also Sing account. So after doing those, while doing those projects, I really got to apply all these tools that I was learning like separately, right, one by one, to know like how each of these tools I use and how I can use it like in the practical world. So I did those project, I documented it. It gave like a boost, kind of boosted my confidence, I would say. Also in parallel in WirfonCloud, we also had like some project which I was also attending. So what I did is I have those. I when I once I finish with those project, I created my CV like a professional CV, and where I included all those projects and also the certifications. That's why I felt like okay, now I'm ready to apply because after doing all this project, each time I went on job, I was checking job advertisement. The tools they listed there is something that I already used in those projects. So if they say like Docker or maybe Terraform, I did a project where I used Terraform to create resources. I did a CI/CD project where I deployed a dynamic website using a CI GitHub Action, CI/CD pipeline, stuff like that. So it was not a rocket science to me anymore. So that's the moment where I felt like, okay, now I'm ready. So I have the certifications with this theoretically oriented, and I have the project with this practical, and I also have WirfonCloud on my CV because I also put on my CV that I was working as consultant for WirfonCloud, which is also a really good booster for me. Um, what I did is that I just uploaded this project on my LinkedIn account and also on my Zinc account. Zinc account, for those of you who does not know it, is just like LinkedIn, but it's something that's mostly used in Germany, right? So that's where the German recruiters go there and source. So I made sure that my LinkedIn and my Zinc account were updated and also with all the project and the certifications, everything well written, right? So once I did that, I started getting like messages from recruiters. So from Sing, I got like 3 recruiters contacting me on Sing, and those were mostly like external recruiters, so headhunters. So what they do is that they have contacts to different companies. So whenever a company has an open a position, they will look for a candidate and then try to connect the candidate with the company. So that's how I got in contact with those 3 recruiters. I just sent them my CV, and they, whenever they had an interview, whenever like a company was interested, they will then get back to me. So personally, I didn't actively apply to any job, but I just like got the interview through those recruiters. And with their help,
Yeah.
I got like three interviews in three companies.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah,
That's absolutely great. And I think I hope everyone did capture that because, which is what I've also been saying or that we've been talking about. Everyone needs to brand themselves and position yourself in such a way that recruiters are coming to you instead of you going out there to look for a job, which is just what you did, right? You
exactly.
you ensured that you are Zing, you did projects, you felt comfortable, you had it in Zing, and of course, everyone that is in with Cloud Consulting is definitely doing something that you put on your CV that shows that that's what you're doing. And you have your LinkedIn profile up to date. You have for those in Germany, you have your Zing profile up to date. um, you'll be getting those calls, right? So the other things that you were saying, and you have used them quite a number of times, which are skills that everyone here, which is what we've also been discussing with the current cohort. Once you are comfortable with doing CI/CD pipelines, once you are comfortable with Terraform, which is a course during the time Boris was here, we didn't do the Terraform course at that time, but we're offering it now. Once you're confident using Terraform, the other thing is there was even a group study for CloudFormation. They also did a group study for CloudFormation. So most of the people in the current cohort have, two skills on infrastructure as code, right? So, and they're doing Terraform. So once you are comfortable with these skills, the other thing is the labs, they are doing also labs that gives you that confidence. Like you say, the labs, I think, Boris, you had the labs with Tio. Tio was doing some advanced labs and some
Exactly.
advanced, yeah, small projects. And as you hear, these projects becomes the experience you put in your CV because some people always think that experience come from working full time in a company. But if you can do a project and document it well, you've heard if Boris can do it that way and get a job, then any other person can do it. If you do a project and you document it well, because a project is experience, right? You have solved a problem. So don't underestimate that. The other thing also is if you have time, most of you here who are in the path to community builder, and I think Boris, I don't know if you are in the community builder program, but if you are not, I know you are currently working, but it's a community you can apply, especially if you have content on Medium, because we also introduce how to write articles and most of these things that give you exposure, and a good number of people are doing some of those things at the moment. So I'm just trying to repeat some of the things that Boris have said that should be a takeaway for everyone, right? Brand yourself, position yourself in a way that recruiters are coming to you and not you trying to apply for jobs because that's where it can really get frustrating. But going back to Boris' story, you had three recruiters reach out to you, and then I'm just curious, what were the different positions that uh, of course, we know your application manager now, but what were the other two? Were they the same three recruiters, or what were the positions that they were reaching out to for you to get to?
Yeah, the first company was a consulting firm in Hamburg. It was a position about cloud engineering. So
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, yeah, I went for the interview for that company. I did the first round, it was good. The second round was technical, but after the second round, I got the rejection. And then the second company was Adesso. I don't know if you know if you all know Adesso. It's also a huge
I
consulting
know,
firm as
yeah.
well, right? So there
Mm-hmm.
they were looking for a technology consultant. There I did the first interview, and then afterwards I got a rejection from them. But it was definitely a learning curve, right? Like the first two interviews, you get to that's how you kind of gather like more confidence in going for interviews. So the third one I did was then for my current job, also through an external recruiter. So it was like I would say like I was just at the beginning I was not like really interested in this position, I would say. Because when this external recruiter sent me the job advertisement, I looked at it, I was like, no, it's not for me. I told her that I'm not interested. So because usually what she does is that if she has a job which might be good for you, she will send you the job ad, and if you're okay, then she will send your CV to the company, right? And if the company likes your CV, they will call you for an interview. So when she sent me this the advertisement, I told her that no, I don't like the job, that she shouldn't send my document there. But she went ahead and sent it without my consent.
Interesting. Okay.
So she went ahead and sent my CV to this company without my consent. So I was on vacation, I think last year, it was in October 2024. I was on vacation in Spain. Then I came back to the hotel. I saw like 12 missing call from her. I was like, why is she calling me? And then I called her back. She's like, yeah, this company I sent you a CV. They are really interested in your profile. They want to know you. I told her that no, I don't like the job and I don't want to go for the interview. And I asked her why did she send my document there without my consent, you know? So she tried to convince me. She was like, "You have nothing to lose. Just go there and listen to what they have to say, right? And then if you don't like it, then you can still reject the offer or reject the job." I was like, "Okay, no issue. I will just go there and then listen." So that's how I went for the interview, and it was like one of the best interview I had because because for the two previous interviews, it took a lot of time for preparation, which is also good because it's good to really prepare for interviews. Like usually, if you prepare for the first 3 or 5 interviews, the are like really easy, right? Because most of the time it's the same thing that is coming, and then you already have this experience and you have less pressure, I would say. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's quite an interesting story there because one always hears stories about interview or getting a job, but yours here, the first thing, she sends your documents without your consent, you are rejecting, she's emphasizing, then you turn out like, okay, let you go hear what they're saying.
Exactly.
And there it goes, you're working, we'll definitely be coming to what you are doing. And you already mentioned about rejections, uh, how you took it, but I'll still like you to talk around that because for some people, when they get rejections, it's really very difficult. And this is always an area to address. And also the point I always say is it's not always the very first job. And that's why it's good to start applying early because you're definitely going to have rejections. And you've already mentioned that it was a learning process, but again, do you still want to, maybe there was some disappointment, or how were you wondering, how did you handle the whole rejection from the first two interviews? And I, just maybe just take us back there, right? Like how you felt, you just realized you thought you had a good interview, now you have a rejection. How are you going to move? Because some people are getting that rejection really lose the energy and the momentum. If you were to advise someone with your experience on handling rejections, what were you going to say?
Yeah, rejection is always definitely something very frustrating, right? So because like usually when you go for interview, it takes like days and hours to prepare for the interviews, and at the end, if you get rejections, your energy level is kind of very low, right? So,
Mhm.
but I think the most important thing that you have to do, like after the interview, is always to try to question yourself, right? Like, what did you answer well, and what question did you need to answer well, right? And also,
Mhm.
what I did is that after every interview, I always try to write down all the questions that came during the interview, right? And I knew that okay, this one I did answer well, this one I didn't, and I always try to find like the right answer to the question I didn't do well, so that in case it comes to the next interview, know what to do, right? So yeah, but just like I said, you're always like really frustrated once you get the rejections, your energy level is low because you spend a lot of time and then try to prepare the interview. But the good thing about it is that you get experience, right? By failing all the time, you shouldn't just look at the fact that you failed, but you should also try to look it from a different angle, like because you get an experience from going to interviews. You know how to interact with recruiters, and you have more confidence. So if you do like 3 interviews, after doing 3 interviews, going to the fourth one, you have more confidence because you know how the structure is, right? Compared
Yeah.
to your first 2 interviews. So that's how I always took it. And each rejection, I always try to put myself in question to know like what went wrong, in which area didn't I do well, and I try to improve. Um, After that, I noticed that my confidence was getting more and more bigger, right? So that's how I use these rejections to as a powerful I would say as an energy for the next interviews, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's,
No,
that's
that's really
definitely
good.
that's definitely the
Yeah.
advice that I can always give everyone. Like if you go for an interview, after the interview, you should always take a moment to reflect on what went well and what didn't went well. You should always write down the question that I asked, because most of the question will be centered around the project that you did and then the CV. If you maybe there's like a question which you were not able to answer regarding the project that you did on your CV, then you should prepare, and for the next interview you should be able to look for to research in order to answer that question in case it comes to the next interview. While doing that, you will notice that you will have like more confidence in answering questions. And the recruiters, they always want to see this confidence in you when they ask you question, right? So this one comes with experience.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Mm. Right. No, that's really good to hear. I hope everyone is picking that. Going and getting a rejection is not the end, it's part of the process. And yeah, it takes you, you should then do better. Um, with all of this, of course, how did you present with on cloud in your interviews? Maybe definitely a question came up about WirfonCloud, bearing in mind this is where you did training, and then of course you were in the WirfonCloud consulting team. Do you happen to have a question that
Yeah,
they talk about from? Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Because I also put on my CV that I worked as cloud engineer at WirfonCloud, right? So, and I of course
Hmm.
describe some tasks, kind of make the CV looks nice, I would say, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes you can lie on your CV, but
As
you
you
should
can defend it.
exactly. If you can defend the lie, it's good, right? Because I already did
Yeah.
like some project. I'm like, okay, on WiFi Cloud, I use Terraform to deploy infrastructure and to deploy like monitoring solution. I use like this CloudWatch and also use other tools as well, right? So, and they
Hmm.
were asking like, okay, what did you do there? What was the difficulties? What was the why are you leaving the company? Stuff like that. So you have to be able to prepare those questions, right? So
Yeah.
and then defend it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, good. For those of you who are first timers and having first experience and in with cloud consulting team, I hope you are picking some of these tips. And if you have questions, you can always reach Boris. I'm sure he will be there to answer your questions. There was a poll I had on biggest fear. What worries you most about changing careers in tech? I see some people said can't afford to quit current job, 33% for you. Some people say we take too long to get hired. Um, Time goes very fast. I mean, Boris, you started in April and then you were in 2023. You started your job in February 2025, right? So,
Yes. Agree.
yeah, but you got confirmation to start your job. Was it in November or
October.
December?
October
In
2024.
October
Yeah. The
2024.
process went really fast. Like I did the interview on the same day. The company was already impressed. On the same day, they scheduled the second interview, and then after the
Okay.
second interview, I got the offer the same day. So just like
Hmm.
sometimes, like when a job is for you, it's for you, right? If it's not for you, then it's not for you. So that's why you don't have to worry if you get a rejection because
Hmm.
once you get the right job, it's not going to take that long. So I
Hmm.
got the offer in October 2024 and I started in February 2025. 5 because I had like 3 months a notice period from my previous company. And I would say
Mm-hmm.
that's also one of the advantage, right? If you're searching for a job, why why still working? You have less pressure than someone who has no job, right?
Yes.
So why working? If you finish your certifications, you take your time to build or to gather also other knowledge to work on projects that gives you like real experience, and then you start to apply for jobs like without hurrying, without being in the hurry, right? So you have less pressure, I
Mm-hmm.
would say.
No, that's really excellent to hear. I'm going to come to talk more on that job offer, but on that process, you had the first interview, and then the same day they schedule the next one immediately. But what you said it was good. What made you say yes to that role before? Because you just told us you did look at it, you didn't like it, but then you went there. It seems like it was a great interview. What was it that made you say yes to the role?
At the moment, let me
That's
charge my
okay.
computer.
Right. And
Okay.
again, for those who are still waiting, you
So
see, yeah, go ahead, Boris. I see you are ready.
yeah, so basically like the job advertisement, I would say it wasn't written in a good way. It was like a copy and paste, I would say. But then when I went to the interview where I had like the head of the department with me and he was explaining me like what they are planning to do, why they are looking for someone to work in the cloud. It was like really interesting because he said like for the moment they have all their applications on premises. So in the future they want to move all their application to into the cloud, into Google Cloud, and also they also want to develop cloud native applications. So he said that the team that they have are currently working on their on-prem application. Now he's looking to create like a cloud team, um, it's something that I mean, after the interview, I felt like really motivated because I really like the way he explained everything about the projects and how he's looking at things like in the following years. It was like really amazing that I told him that, to be honest, when I look at the job ad, I wasn't convinced. So, but now that after speaking with you, I understand better the project, and I can say that I'm like really interested to be part of the team. And it was like really good, like an exchange with him and also with one HR uh, employee who was asking like typical HR question. So at the end, like they were like really impressed with all my project and everything. That they said, okay, now we really like your CV and we want you to join the team. That's how they scheduled the second interview, like 1 week afterward. So
Mhm. Wow. Right. And that's always the good thing when you have um, moving into a team, which is what is happening in most companies. You move and they are trying to build a cloud team. It's the
yeah,
best, I think, is the
that's
best
setting up.
situation to be. Yeah, being that first team, building the cloud team for a company. So, right. So, yeah, you happen to talk to someone that you were working with, and now you've been working for since February. How many months is that now? Almost seven,
Almost
eight,
9 months, so eight,
9 months.
9 months. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And how do you like your manager or the team? How do you feel about the job?
It's really amazing. It's really amazing. First of all, because the company, it's like I mean, the company language is in English, right? It's in English, so it's in Germany. It's difficult to see a company where where they speak only English. It's something that you will probably never or you almost never see, right?
Yes,
So
good.
here, like the company language is completely in English, so all the communications with the team, everything is in English, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a new team, so when I joined in February, there were two people. They were also new there because they were building like a new cloud team. So I joined in, and the
Mm-hmm.
colleague they were like really nice. All my colleagues are from India, so
Oh,
so yeah,
nice.
yeah, exactly. So we like got to get along like really good with each other. So like since it's a new team, like or like there were like no processes to was created so far, so we had to build everything from scratch, right? So that's the
Beautiful.
challenge. That's the challenge, and that's also a good thing about it because you are like right there from the start, from the beginning, right? You are the one leading the way, how it should be. So um, that's what we have been doing the last 9 months. I really like it. I love it. My manager is also amazing. So
Great. Yeah. And which cloud are you working in? Just to go back to that, what are like the skills that I know some of the skills that you learned in WirfonCloud that you are currently using at your job, and are you still using AWS or a complete different cloud
no. Unfortunately,
platform?
the company uses Google Cloud. So that's also what uh, what I got to know during the interview. My manager, he said like, okay, I know you did a lot of AWS. Uh, our company, we are using Google Cloud, and he told me that most of the time those clouds are kind of similar. So he's convinced that I'm going to quickly master everything, right. So I told him that that's not an issue. If you give me the contract, and then when I start in February, I will bring you the cloud certification. So Google Cloud, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So in October, after I signed my contract, I then started preparing for the Google Cloud Engineering certification. In December, I wrote the Google Cloud Engineering certification, so which was also pretty easy because because like the content, or it's like I would say like 80% similar to what you do like in AWS. So the services are the same, the networking, the database, everything is the same. So it was like really easy for me to complete the Google Cloud Engineering certification, which was also very helpful for me in the job, right? Because like we deploy our application in Google Cloud. Another skills that we use Terraform also a lot, infrastructure of as code. And we use also Docker images, but Docker images in this time we use it in Google Cloud, right? So we stored our images in artifact registry in
Right.
Google Cloud, and we deployed in applications on a containerized platform. But the containerized
Mhm.
platform we use is Cloud Run. Cloud Run is the equivalent of ECS in AWS, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
basically the same thing. So yeah.
Yeah. What you are confirming here is once you have a solid background in one cloud platform like AWS, if you want to do Google Cloud, it's not very complicated.
More
That's what you
complicated.
are confirming. Yeah.
Exactly. It's easy.
Right. Yeah, I think you are the second. There could be many out there because we had Shay Timothy who did also AWS, but his job required that he work with Azure, and he also did the certifications within a short time. So I think again, back to everyone here, once you've had that solid foundation, just know that if you see a job position, and you always see some job positions, they will say that either you have AWS, Google Cloud, or Azure. They just believe if you have one of these cloud, if you have knowledge in one of these cloud platforms, you can easily work with the others. And I think, Boris, again, you may confirm to me this because I always say that many people should not underestimate the solutions architect associate because it really builds you a very good foundation on the cloud if you have studied it correctly. You have not just crammed your way
Definitely.
towards it, right?
Definitely.
So, yeah, so maybe you want to comment on that after the solutions architect associate again, the role it has played in your cloud journey.
Yeah, definitely. Just like I said, like you should like really focus on this solution architect, right? You should like really learn like every aspect of it and try to understand the concept rather than cramming because you have a lot of services in the solution architect which you learn, and these services are the same thing you probably find in other cloud on other cloud providers as well, right? So it's just like with different names, but the concept is generally the same thing. So if you like really master the concept of solution architect, then you are really good to learn other cloud certifications as well, like Azure or Google Cloud. So it's like it will be easier for you to do those certifications,
Mm.
definitely.
Great, great. I think your question, there was a question on what was the different phases of interview. I think that has been answered. You have the first interview, the second interview was scheduled, except I don't know. Do you want to say something about the interview process again, Boris? That could be of importance for those planning for the interview.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sure. The first interview was like 1.5 hours, so it was with the HR and also the head of the department of the operation department for which I'm working. So it lasted 1 hour where you had like 30 minutes, like typical HR question, right? What are your motivations? Like, why do you want to switch a career path? What have you done so far? And then the head of the department who probably asks like more question on your project. So most of the question were based on your project. So if you put project in your CV, know that because this project are the practical experience. So that's what the recruiters are interested in. They will not. In my case, for instance, like I had just one interview where they were asking theoretical question about AWS, like EC2 instance and ABS and everything. That was just one interview. But the two other interviews were mostly like focused on my project, right? So like, okay, you deployed this dynamic website on the ECS. Like, how did you do it? Like, what was the difficulties? How did you set up the monitoring process? So that's definitely something that is mostly centered on your project. So that was yeah, the technical interview for the
Mhm.
first in the first round. And then the second round was with the head of department and then one of the team members, which was also mostly technical. And the question were also still based on the project, right? Like the other team member that was not there last time was asking question like, how do you do deployment on WirfonCloud? Cloud? Like, which strategy do you use? We already know the deployment strategy, right? Like the blue-green deployment, the canary, you just explain it to them and then like an expert, so they would think that, okay, that's something you do every day. So
Yeah, right.
exactly. So
Yeah,
yeah, so that interview lasted just 1 hour, and then I think they were
right.
convinced
Yeah.
already. Yeah,
Interesting. So I think everyone is picking on that. The projects you put on your CV, you make sure you can talk about them like an experience and from a confident point, right?
yeah,
Uh, you don't put something in your CV that you cannot defend. That's the key thing,
yeah,
right? Yeah. Great. The job description, you've already talked about it. Maybe you want to talk about what you do every day at work or how does your day as an application manager look like? I think that will answer the question from Diana as well.
yeah. Sure. So I'm like part of the DevOps team, right? So we have the developers and then the operation. So I'm like part of I'm like mostly in the operation parts. So what the developers do is that they like develop the code, right? They create the Docker images and then they test it. And we then the operation we deploy the applications in the higher environment, I would say. So we deploy the application on CloudRun. CloudRun is like ECS, the equivalent of ECS, right? So we deploy the applications and using Terraform, right? And we have also GitHub Action. We have like CI/CD pipelines which are already set not by us, right? By another team. So what all we do is just like to make sure that the image that the developer created, we push it like the artifact we used to write in the production environment, and then we deployed it in the containerized platform. And we also like take care of the monitoring, right? To monitor the application in case like there's error, if there's an incident, and then if it's an incident, you have to create like an incident ticket and then try to investigate the incident, right? And yeah, do also documentation, a lot of documentations because the applications are new. So like what I mean by documentation is like creating the operation manual for the applications, the security documents, and also like the whole monitoring concept. So since those are new application, we do it for the first time. It's just a one-time job, but we have to do it like from scratch, right? So that's what we mostly do. And if they're like release, usually release are like improvement, like we make sure that we manage this release, right, from the development into the production environment by coordinating everything, having meetings with other stakeholders as well, right? So And if there are like some incidents that happen like with the application, we can contact the Google team to try to find a solution to incidents. We also create like disaster recovery plan, right? So in case like one region goes down, we know how to recover the application in another region. So those things we do, and we also do a lot of testing as well, right? So before we deploy the application into the production environment, we have to test it. We have like we use Jira X-ray test, right, which we create. So we try to test the application in a lower environment. So we have an environment called simulation where we do the test to see if everything is working well and if everything functions as expected, then we then deploy it into the production environment. What else? Yeah, I think that's basically what we mostly do. Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's fascinating, and I'm sure, yeah, more if more people, if you people have more questions, please reach out to Boris. I know we've been, it's almost 10 minutes to the top of the hour. We've been having a great conversation so far, but as well, slowly going to round up, and maybe if you have more questions, we bring in on chat, but we'll be closing out soon. Then you can also ask more questions. But Boris, um, with everything you did study, right? So many of these things, and you are working on operations, and were you really surprised about the actual work? Here, I mean, what has been your experience in terms of everything you learn, and then in the actual job, this is what you are doing. Um, Especially switching from a non-tech background and coming to tech, and then you see this is what you can be doing. Um, how was there the surprise, and how do you, if you were to advise someone who is learning this many different of things and how the actual job looks like, what would you say, or your based on your experience?
My first impression, I would say, is that like on job advertisement, they would definitely ask you more than what they are using, right? So usually many company, I would say almost like 95% of them, or if not 99, they will just copy just a job advertisement and a requirement. Like they will ask you to know like Docker, to know Kubernetes, to know Prometheus. These are things that, but you will, I mean, once you look at that just advertisement, you were like, okay, this is like too much. I don't know this one, so I'm like, you feel like you're not qualified for the job and you don't apply, right? But once you're inside a company, you notice that all those tools use maybe just 5% of it, right? So they're actually like
Yeah,
so much stuff, but once you're in the company, you used maybe just 5% or 10% of those stuff. Like for us, for instance, like what we mostly use is like Terraform, right? Because all the deployment we use infrastructure of code. So Terraform is definitely something that you should try to master. And then the rest, it's like it's like easier because like in the company, you will never get to do everything yourself. So you have like different departments. You have like the security, you have a networking team, you have the developers, you have the operation team. So everyone is just taking care of a small part of the whole puzzle. So, and these are things that you can learn easily once you're in the company. So you shouldn't be afraid that if you don't know all those tools, you will not get the job or you will not perform well in the job. That's not true
yeah,
because once you join a company, if you already have like these fundamentals, right, and then you have done like some project it once in a company, you feel even more comfortable. I also, for instance, I didn't know like GitHub. I also had to learn how to use GitHub. I did GitHub, like I did a course on GitHub, and on the project I also used GitHub because my company we use GitHub a lot. So when I arrived there, I was like really comfortable with GitHub and also Terraform since I already used it before. And yeah, the Docker, I learned a lot of Docker. Kubernetes, I learned a lot on Kubernetes, but I'm not even using the Kubernetes knowledge. Docker, I learned a lot on Docker also, but I'm just using just 1% of the knowledge, right, in the company. So what I would say is that don't be afraid of job advertisement because those tools are just for show. The company you use maybe just like 10 or 5% of it. And these are things that once you are there, you can easily, quickly learn it. Even if you have difficulties in it, you can easily pick one Saturday or one weekend and then deepen your understanding on tools that you really need for your job, right? So for
mhm,
instance, me, when I joined the company they have like a learning portal also. All the companies have learning portals where you can learn the skills that you need for the job. So you should just be open to do that and find the time to learn the new skills. So which is what I actually have been doing like in the last 9 months to learn most of the skills that are needed for the job, my job, like also the company process. For the company for which I'm working, it has like the same standard with banking, right? So there are a lot of process, compliance processes, internal processes that I have to learn. So that's what I'm focusing on doing now. So maybe after
Mhm.
1 year, I will then try to see how I can then move, continue with the technical skills, like learning a little bit of on AI and then continue to build up. But for the moment, like this year, I was like, I'm just going to focus mostly on the internal processes and only on the tool that I need to excel in my job. So yeah,
I mean, I think that's what's important. You have a plan, which is good because understanding the internal process of your own company, every company have those different um, compliance and processes. Once you have that, it solidifies and give you like the company also feel comfortable with you because you are working, you have kind of like aligned, right, to
yeah,
them. And then the technical skills you can always keep learning and improving. And yeah, it's good you've mentioned AI, but I hear you'll be coming to it. But just a quick yes or no, is your are some of your team members using AI? Is it to boost productivity? Is it happening?
yeah,
Will you say?
definitely. I think the developers they use this Microsoft Copilot, right,
Okay.
for coding. I also used Copilot a lot as well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Maybe for
mostly
Terraform,
Yeah, for
infrastructure as
Terraform
code.
or maybe
Okay.
to do like some queries, some database queries. If I
Okay.
have like some SQL queries, I can always ask Microsoft Copilot, okay, I want to query this data, which SQL query
Yes.
should I use? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy. You have your AI tools there. If there's something that you forgot,
Strong.
if there's a Linux command that you forgot, you could just ask Microsoft Copilot and then you use it. So you have like everything at your disposal to be productive, I would say. So
Yeah. Yeah. Now, so compared with your last job and now doing tech, especially in terms of salary and in terms of time, what will you say? In terms of how you feel about the job and in terms of the salary you have at the moment?
I would say the job is definitely good. It's actually, I mean, I expected the job to be harder, to be difficult. That was my expectation because IT people always think like you have to code, you have to do stuff every day, but that's not true, right? If in a company you have a process, you have a routine. So you come in the morning and then you do the routine, and then you probably notice that at the end of the day, maybe you work like 2 to 3 hours, and most of
Right.
the time you are like kind of free, to do your stuff.
In meetings,
Yeah.
yeah.
And at the end, yeah, you spend more most of the time in the meetings. And for
Right.
that, you get a good salary, right? Compared to my old job where I had to work my ass,
Yeah.
and then you get paid like peanut. And this one
Yes.
also because I work like fully remotely. My company is based. I live in Berlin. My company is based in Leipzig. So I'm
Okay.
like I work fully remotely from home. So really it's really good. I'm also like really flexible in terms of time. Work-life balance is also perfect. So
Mm-hmm.
it's it was the best decision I've ever made, I would say.
The switch. Oh,
Yeah, exactly. The switch. Yeah, definitely.
yeah. And I think you also to come to WirfonCloud, let me add, so where it's
Yeah,
much more
yeah,
relaxed.
definitely. That's also
Yeah.
where it all started because at the back, if you're studying, if when you want to switch the career, if you don't have a community to boost or people behind you to boost you and to lead to show you the path, it's difficult. You cannot. It's difficult to do it on your own, right? So and like session like this are also like really interesting, because like I remember I attended like two sections, like one for Shufai from Shufai and another one also from I forgot her name where I think the other one from Scrum Master where she was explaining also
Ah,
experience. Yeah.
yes.
I was like
Very.
it from Berry exactly. It was like really a boost and a motivation for me. I was like, wow. If they did it, then I can also do it, So yeah,
Mhm. Right.
definitely.
Great, great. And you are here back today inspiring others, which we really do appreciate, and having you in the community. Where do you see yourself in 2 years? Any thoughts on that? I know 2 years is a long time in cloud, but are you thinking of that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I'm planning like next year maybe to take the Google Cloud Professional Solution Architect exam, right? Um,
Hmm.
there are also like some other internal trainings that I will be doing, like data engineering trainings, because we work a lot of with a lot of data also in our company
Hmm.
from the GCP point of view. So I'm planning definitely to do that. Of course, to
Great.
move to a senior position, right? Because now I'm like in the professional, and then from professional we also have a senior, and then expert. So we have like a clear career path. So and and also clear requirement to move from one path to others. So I know that, right? So you
Wow.
know
Yeah.
what you have to
Mm.
learn, which skills you have to acquire to move to the next career path. And
Yes.
also, if you say career path, you also say it also comes with more financial compensation, right? So
Yes. Yeah. Now I'm sure you're up to it, and being in a company where they are building from scratch, you have that opportunity that those who are coming, you of course you will have had experience in the company, you have possibility to move into positions than
exactly.
the new one coming as the company expands. So really wishing you all the best on that, and yeah, definitely you'll make it. But
Thank you.
some advice for those who are starting at WirfonCloud. What will you say for anyone who is new and starting at WirfonCloud?
Just be consistent. That's the
Mhm.
very important. Be consistent in your learning. Don't procrastinate, I would say. So it doesn't make any sense to learn 5 hours and then from those 5 hours maybe you master just maybe stuff for 1 hour, right? So you just have to be consistent. You have to be structured in the way of learning, right? So if you check, especially the tools, you learn like you don't have to know or to master all the tools to start searching for a job. So you don't have to do that. Yeah, be organized in your way of learning. Consistency. I also work on personal projects as well, which is very important. And then everything will be good, definitely.
Yeah,
And
hope
also
everyone. Yeah,
engage in community like labs and also projects and also group studies. Those are very important, especially group studies, right? Because during the group studies, you, for instance, have the possibility to present and then in front of your colleague. And like in your professional life, you have a lot of meetings that you have to attend, and during those meetings, you have to speak, right? So these are the skills that you gain with the group studies. So
great. Happy to hear that, and I'm glad you are bringing that out there. Which when we tell people participate in group studies, do something in group studies. There are some people who own that. Some people still take time, but slowly I think they will get it. Um what about someone, what advice you give to someone who think they cannot do it,
I
who
mean, like
get into cloud and start thinking they cannot do it? Yeah,
I think the only limit that exists is the one you set to yourself, right? So if you don't set any limit, then the sky would be your limit, right?
great.
So you just have to have this can-do mentality. Because this is definitely something, even when you start like working in the professional world, you also have to keep up with this space, right? With this mentality. And you should be open to learn new stuff. You shouldn't like be afraid, right? Of course, just like you used to say, Professor Ban, like the first time you learn something new, you're like, wow, it's so difficult. And then you go through the second time, you're like, okay, it wasn't that difficult as I thought. The time you're like, okay, it's easy. So each new topic that's there, you should face like each new topic or each new tools with this same spirit, knowing that the first time that you will learn it, you will read it, it will be like a little bit of rocket science. The second time, you start to understand. The third time, you will master it. So I think if you have like face every new topic with this mentality, then you notice that everything is possible. So yeah, just like I said, just be consistent. Consistency is the key. Invest a little bit of your time every day to learn something new. It doesn't have to be 5 hours, even if it's just 30 minutes every day. By the end of the month, what we know it's would be more than if you didn't do anything. So
Great. Great. Thank you so much, Boris, on that. Any other questions for Boris? You've heard it. You have to be consistent, right? It's one of the things that stands out. So it's my application manager journey with WirfonCloud as part of the journey for Boris. So you've all heard what Boris have said. I don't know if there are other questions we did leave out or something that you were looking forward but you've not heard. Feel free to come up, ask your question, or maybe if you want to comment, that's also good.
Hello. Hello, Boris.
Hi,
Hi, Frank.
Tatiana.
Hi,
hi,
everyone.
Tatiana.
Well, I do not have a question, actually, more like a comment. I just want to appreciate Boris for what he said this night. Particularly, I don't know what stood out to me was when he was talking about the job descriptions, because I've been looking at them because I'm already at that point where I think I should be applying, possibly. And Boris, for real, sometimes you look at the job descriptions and you are like, ha, are these people looking for Wonder Woman or Superwoman? Because I don't know. But hearing you speak now, I think you just changed like my perspective because I think it's crazy. So I just wanted to say thank you, Prof. Thanks, everyone.
You're welcome.
Yeah, great. No, I always say that when you look at the job description that you have, this is what I'll say, if you have 60, 70% of that information, you should apply, right? Just like Boris was saying. So yeah, they really always, as Boris said, it copy paste, and then you're looking at some of these things, they are looking crazy, but be confident. And at times, even if you are still doubting, but you read it and you feel like you should apply, send that application because the only
You
thing
have
they
nothing
can
to
say,
lose.
no, right? Yeah, you at times will be surprised, surprised some of the jobs that you are qualified for and that you miss. So thanks, Boris, for making it lighter now. Tatiana, definitely go for those jobs that you've been wondering if you should apply for them. Yeah, let's see. Good. Right. Diana says it was really nice listening to your journey. It's a great source of encouragement. We're happy to hear that. Reasons for the Saturday session. Any other person wants to come up and say something? Or comment?
Yeah, just want to appreciate Boris as well. At least it has really uplifted some of us as well. The part that really took my attention was his studying program, the 30 minutes, and just to emphasize because you two have been saying it all the time, and most of us have been taking it for granted. But I think with his experience again, it is really a big booster to most of us. Thank you again, Boris, and thank you to Prof for bringing us this opportunity to listen from Boris and encourage all of us.
Mhm. No, great. Well, thanks for that. Yeah, right. I don't know who else has something to say or anyone has something that we have left out. And well, really, I mean, and while waiting for that, I still really want to appreciate Boris for taking Saturday evening to give back to the community. That's what we've always encouraged, right?
Yeah,
Community,
definitely.
yeah, we are supporting one another. So Boris came here in the very first weeks. He had experience listening to others that motivated and inspired him. And then after getting his job, actually, he reminded me because with this busy schedule he reminded me that he will need to do his presentation, which was really, really positive. And then we did work out today and he's here giving back to the community and inspiring many of you. And hopefully after this session, you definitely maybe have that, use that to succeed. And hopefully definitely will be listening to one of you next year on your own journey as well. Yeah, so
man.
definitely. Mike, you want to say something?
Yes, but
Especially having worked with Boris in networking. Yeah, also
yes,
go ahead.
yes, definitely. Boris, this is a very inspiring story, and I hope it encourages everyone. And along the lines of the journey, a question I'd like you to elaborate on is how important was note taking throughout your journey?
Yeah, that's a good question, definitely. Like, I mean, taking note is definitely very important, right? So if you just read something or just listen to a video, you probably won't get that much out of it compared to when you like taking notes, right? Like for each certification, I always make sure that I have my notes. So that I took my note like digitally, right? So I always have like for each certification, I always have my Google Doc, which I with the Word documents where I really type in like the most important or the key takeaway for each lecture that I do. Even Udemy courses also where also I always made sure that I did my personal notes because those are how you learn efficiently, right? So making notes is definitely something I would advise anyone because that's definitely the how you can evaluate if you understood what is being taught or not. So just reading or listening to videos, it's it's I mean for some people it might work, but I think most of the time if you take time to make the note yourself, then you get the most out of the course. So that's something I would also advise you guys to do while studying, regardless of what you are doing. If it's just 30 minutes, if you're learning Docker, if you are listening to a video, after you finish a video, a 5 minute video on the section, try to make a note, the summary of what was being said in that video, because that's the only way to find out if you really understood the concept or not. Thank you very much for bringing this topic up, Mike.
Thank you, Boris. So, thank you for emphasizing that. I wanted everyone to understand, or I wanted to emphasize on the aspect of note taking, and I'm glad you touched some more on that because whenever you're studying, and I always recommend doing the networking sessions, and that you should implement that going forward, is have a notebook dedicated to your cloud journey because
Yeah,
you want to take notes as you learn because it's easier for you to find a particular topic whenever you want to look for it or refresh your memory on that. And once you write it down, what happens is you're forcing your brain to understand that in a different way. So it takes you
definitely.
your brain to understand it first when you hear it. When you write it down, you have to understand it in such a way that you can put pen to paper. And once you do that, and when you're reading it again, that is giving you the repetition you need on this journey for you to understand a lot of the concepts. So just emphasizing on that, if you don't want to do a hard copy, I would advise a hard copy of a book or notebooks. But if you cannot, if a soft copy, like Boris mentioned, the Google Doc, if that works for you, that is fine because you're able to type in whatever you're understanding and you can always read that again in your own words and the way you
Exactly.
understand it. And that would help you a lot. So that was
Exactly.
just what I want to emphasize on note taking as you go on this journey. That will help you a lot. So thank you, everyone.
Definitely. Definitely.
Right. Great. Thank you, Mike, for that. Very important, essential point on this study journey for everyone. So, definitely everyone should stay motivated, um, apply most of these skills, right, that we have been talking. You want to remember, really ensure you have a note. notebook. These things are not just for saying or repeating sake, but it plays a big role in your how you get to remember what works for you. If you have, I personally, there are still some things I write, but when it gets there are some of the things that I use also Google Drive. So I have a mix of those, but there are still some things I write because at times when I'm traveling, I don't just want to be looking on the screen. I just flip open one of my notebook that I tend to just almost write almost everything on it. So it's very, very important. There was the last poll which I did put out there on learning style. I see many people, the majority have a mix of everything. So video tutorials and demos, reading documentation and books, hands-on labs, projects, study groups, and peer learning. So some of you prefer study groups and peer learning. We have a bit of almost everything of this here at WirfonCloud, the labs, and all of them are trying to help you develop some skill. Boris did mention the study group where we ask people to present. It's always a big struggle for some, but at some point they get used to and they do that presentation, but it makes a difference. Yeah, so a lot has been said by Boris this evening. We have recorded this and we'll have it out there, which I'll recommend that for those who still want to catch up, you can look into it. But it's a clear path that shows that um, coming from a non-tech background, being committed, being consistent, and then having a structured learning plan, you can actually break into a career path where you earn better and you don't need to work as more as the jobs that are always asking you to work more, they're always paying less, the jobs where you don't even maybe have to work so much, you realize you are being paid more. And tech is just one of those areas. I see Tatiana is laughing, right? So again, um I hope I don't know if if there's anything again, please just bring that up. But we're rounding up, and I think I'll also be asking Boris if there is any final thing he will want to say. It could be for career, it could be his experience here from Cloud, or just anything, a last word, and maybe if anyone has anything, so that you can also be looking forward to come after Boris. But Boris, any last word you have for us?
Yeah, so what I can say is that I can just encourage you guys, especially the new joiners or those who have been there and then who are still looking for a job, to just be perseverant, right? So just don't discourage yourself. Keep on learning, keep on pushing, and definitely you will find something, because the job market is very huge. There's a lot of potentials, and there's this place for everyone, right? So, yeah, that's definitely what I would say. And from cloud is always there. The community is big, so you have people who are working already, and some probably don't have the time maybe to interact that much in the community, but they are also willing to help in case you have like any questions, or in case you have like difficulties. You can always get to the community and you will find a solution. So I think that's also the good thing about having a big community. That's what most of the Indians do, right? So they are not magicians. So we
Yeah,
mostly tend to think that Indian are super intelligent. No, no, no. Behind one India guy, you always have 100 people who are always backing him, right?
supporting, yes.
So that's
Yeah,
the same thing that we are trying to build with Cloud. So at the
yeah,
end, if you have like pool of a lot of talent people who are working, then we'll be able to back up each other and make this Wifon Cloud greater again. So definitely.
absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that and being part of that process and recognizing the need of supporting. Um, so I don't know, is there any other last word from anyone? We're already closing. I know it's been a long one. Okay, since I don't see any hand coming up, I really want to take this opportunity and appreciate all of you for joining and making this our Saturday event what it is. Thank you for your questions, participating in the poll and making it interactive. I also hope that you've learned something that you are going to implement and that is going to move you one step ahead. into your cloud journey going forward. If you have some questions, remember Boris is in the community. You can always reach out to him. If you're not able to get him, reach out to me. Boris is on LinkedIn, right? Boris, you're on LinkedIn. So
Yes, yes.
right. So connect. Boris will put his LinkedIn profile again on premium chat if someone is looking, if someone has not yet connected. So let's keep doing this together and keep inspiring one another so that we all grow together and definitely roll the cloud. So thank you, Diana. It was nice having you as well. So with that, I will stop the recording and I'll say, right, it's been nice. So let's enjoy.